Welcome, everyone. It's great to be here. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today. Today, we're doing a tech talk. We're looking at the Lamborghini digital workspace building blocks. Today, we are joined by some very incredible engineers and technicians, all of which are working with Ferroque Systems. We're joined by Michael Schuster, CEO of Ferroque Systems, Todd Hsu, President of Ferroque Systems, Chetan Keeney, Senior Technical Consultant, Michael Wheelock, Technical Analyst, Ruben Huckel, Senior Technical Consultant, and finally myself, Amber Piche. I look after the marketing here at Ferroque. Michael is the CEO and founder of Ferroque Systems and is a recognized Citrix authority in North America. Michael has sat on Citrix's consulting team as an architect for over half a decade as a consulting partner and has led many of Citrix's most significant consulting engagements. As well, he contributes regularly to Citrix's leading practices and documentation. Todd is one of the earliest pioneers of Citrix solutions in North America, who built one of the most successful Citrix practices in the world. His business was acquired by Citrix in 2012, after which Todd led Citrix's consulting organization in Canada for 5 years. Today, Todd joins Ferroque as both president and partner. Chetan is a senior technical consultant at Ferroque Systems, specializing in Citrix and VMware technologies. Chetan has years of experience in consulting and managed services and specializes in end-user computing with organizations across North America. Michael Wheelock is part of Ferroque's technology services team and has a strong background in data center operations. Michael is an avid Linux enthusiast and specializes in networking, security, virtualization, and operational monitoring and alerting integrations. And finally, Ruben Huckel is a senior consultant at Ferroque and consults on Microsoft, VMware, public cloud, and Citrix infrastructure platforms with a specialized focus on FS Logix and AWS. Ruben's specialization in digital workspace technologies with interest in scripting and web coding. Welcome, gentlemen. As you know, today we'll be looking at the fastest remote workspace in the world, the Ferroque Lamborghini. We'll be reviewing Lamborghini specs, Sd-Wan, digital workspace tech ecosystem, Citrix Cloud, security in the mobile workforce, and finally, we'll end with some questions and answers. If you do have any questions along the way, please feel free to add them to the chat, and we'll do our best to get to them. So to get started, we are going to pass the baton over to Todd, and he's going to share with us the Lamborghini in real life. So take it away, Todd.
All right, hi everybody. Yeah, sitting behind me is the car, our Lamborghini EVO Spyder, Huracán EVO Spyder, the 610 horsepower naturally aspire V10 engine. It's extremely loud, so I'm not going to turn it on just now. And you can see we picked the Spyder because when we are going to actually get our customer events, it is an open top, so we're technically outdoors. So we're actually social distance friendly, if that is the correct term. And and if you can see in the front, this is where the magic happens. We have the Citrix Sd-Wan device. As you can see, we have dual SIM cards. I don't know if you can see that clear, but definitely the blinky lights, and we have the little NUC, our portable server that is acting as our remote mobile data center, and of course backed up by a battery. And if you look at the console, you will see a mounted camera, which we will be conducting video conference meetings later on in the summer when we actually take this puppy out the road. So yeah, so we're gonna go through the entire next hour to kind of explain to everybody how and why we put some of these things together, and yeah, enjoy the ride, and hope to see you guys soon in person with this vehicle.
Thank you, Todd, for that awesome demo. Really enjoyed it. Hello, everybody. I'm Chetan Kinney, Senior Technical Consultant here at Ferroque Systems. And today I'm going to talk about SD-WAN, the beating heart of the modern corporate network, and also the beating heart of our fastest mobile workspace deployment here. Now, why do I call it the beating heart of our deployment, and why is it better than traditional WAN? What is SD-WAN, and why is it better than the traditional WAN? SD-WAN, or software-defined wide area network, is a virtual WAN architecture that allows enterprises to leverage any combination of transport services, including MPLS, LTE, and broadband internet services. This allows you to securely access and connect to your applications. SD-WAN also uses a centralized control function to securely and intelligently direct traffic across the WAN. What this does is it increases application performance and delivers high quality user experience, resulting in increased business productivity, agility, and reduced IT costs. Now, why is it better than traditional WANs? So traditional WANs based on conventional routers were never meant for the cloud. They typically require backhauling all traffic, including cloud-specific traffic or cloud-destined traffic, from branch offices to a hub or a headquarters data center, where advanced security policies and inspection services are applied. So what this does is it delays and causes application performance degradation, and finally leads to poor user experience and lost productivity. So the benefits of an SD-WAN solution include centralized control over the network, visibility into network resources, automation of tasks, configuration changes are fairly easy, maintenance and upgrades are also very easy to perform. You can easily deploy robust security capabilities, and there is a very tight integration with a lot of third-party best-of-breed firewalls. Finally, it improves application experience by leaps and bounds. In our fastest mobile workspace deployment, we leverage Citrix SD-WAN as our choice of SD-WAN solution. Now, why Citrix SD-WAN, you may ask? Citrix SD-WAN is the only SD-WAN solution that offers visibility into Citrix's proprietary HDX protocol and can be used to apply optimizations with Citrix published applications as well as virtual desktops. This means you can have the best remote work experience leveraging Citrix SD-WAN. Also, it provides the best end user experience, application experience. Citrix SD-WAN detects and optimizes more than 4,300 applications in real time, and it also mitigates any kind of link outages or brownouts with sub-second failover for demanding applications. If a server is busy, Citrix SD-WAN will automatically reroute traffic to backup links to provide the best possible application experience. Also, Citrix SD-WAN is a core capability of the Citrix unified approach to SASE, which is Secure Access Service Edge, along with zero trust network access to cloud delivered security and applications. So you can access your application securely anywhere from any device. A single cloud-based user interface makes it simple to manage all your WAN appliances, configure any security policies, and monitor and prioritize different applications. So it also helps you overcome some of the common remote workers issues and provides best end user experience. Next, we will go over a brief architecture of the fastest mobile workspace setup leveraging SD-WAN. So as you can see, we have two SD-WAN appliances, the master control node deployed at our data center, and the remote SD-WAN appliance deployed at our Lamborghini mobile office. So the MCN is connected to the remote site via broadband link, and the remote LTE 110 appliance deployed in the Lamborghini mobile office has two LTE WAN links provided through two different cellular providers to ensure redundancy. There are two SIM card slots in LTE 110 device. However, it allows for only one SIM card slot to be active at any given instant of time. So in order to circumvent this limitation and provide dual LTE redundancy, we have a USB LTE modem containing the second SIM card. So this ensures that whenever a signal from one of the two SIM cards is weak or is inaccessible, the SD-WAN appliance routes traffic through the stronger LTE link or the one that is up and running. This ensures that there is connectivity to your applications when there is a link outage. In the next section, I will cover the prerequisites required for the SD-WAN Orchestrator service, which is your cloud-based user interface and where you manage all of your WAN appliances, configure security policies, and prioritize various applications. I will also cover the configuration involved in setting up the remote site as well as the hub site or the headquarters data center site. The following are the prerequisites for the SD-WAN Orchestrator service. A minimum of 2 appliances is required, and each SD-WAN appliance should have an IP address configured either statically or via DHCP, and also have a DNS entry to resolve to the fully qualified domain name of Citrix Cloud services. Each of the branch and DC sites should also have internet connectivity to access internet for the appliances to download any configuration staged through SD-WAN Orchestrator service. Appliances need to access Citrix specified domain names. Citrix recommends whitelisting Citrix Network API.net over 443. If not, there are laundry list of URLs that you will have to whitelist from the appliance firewall. This can be found on Citrix's website, and it's readily available. The last but not the least, the SD-WAN software version should be a minimum of 10.11 for SD-WAN Orchestrator service to be able to manage those appliances. Next, let's go over the configuration for the master control node as well as the remote appliance. So we had to configure the site details for the hub data center appliance, which was a VPX in our case, and the bandwidth capacity was 1000 Mbps. Over to the site details, right? So we have two, as you can see, we have two sites, the remote appliance as well as the MCN. For the SD-WAN appliance hosted in our data center, let's go over to the site details. So what we had to configure here was the bandwidth tier, which was 1000 Mbps as per our license, and the device was a VPX. We also had to ensure that the serial number associated with the appliance was configured, and we also had to configure the various interfaces. So the configuration is straightforward. You have one WAN link to establish remote site connectivity with the Lamborghini office, and one for your LAN, which contains all your Citrix infrastructure and it's provisioned at your hub data center. So the configuration for the remote site, however, included additional configuration. So it was important that we, again, included the serial number for this 110 LTE device. And this was used to check in with Citrix Cloud to download the necessary configuration that we staged prior to getting it online. We had to also configure the Wi-Fi settings, right? So the SSID, the security, in terms of security, we had WPA2 encryption standard configured, and just configure the Wi-Fi hotspot. This feature is only available to you through SD-WAN Orchestrator service, and you can't do it using an on-prem deployment. So in terms of just the interfaces, 2 WAN links were configured for each of the 2 LTE providers, namely Google Fi and Rogers. 1 Ethernet port configured for management purposes, 1 Ethernet port configured for devices connecting over Wi-Fi, 1 Ethernet port for our remote Citrix infrastructure hosted on an Intel NUC. As you can see, it's very simple to deploy additional SD-WAN appliances with the zero-touch deployment. All you need to do is to save the configuration as a template for your remote appliance and create new appliances using the template with the appliance-specific serial ID. Once the device comes up, it checks in with Citrix Cloud and downloads the staged configuration. With that, I will pass the baton over to my colleague, Michael Wheelock, who will provide more information on the mobile digital workspace ecosystem. Over to you, Michael.
Thanks, Chetan. Hi, my name is Mike. I'm the technical analyst here at Ferroque Systems. So deciding how to retrofit a new network device zone to fit the existing networks tend to have various design considerations. The Citrix Sd-Wan made it easy, being just a single ports listening externally, and incoming you'd have a single session per destination. So as you can see in the middle of the diagram where the cloud is, and I had to include a cloud icon because what kind of presentation doesn't have a cloud? And moving left to the cloud, you can see that the SD-WAN has a few wireless clients and a wired connection to the ESXi server, which in turn hosts a few VMs. So those VMs need to be capable of routing to resources hosted in another site. Over all the way onto the right, is to have such infrastructure components like the storefront or DMZ components like the SD-WAN appliance or the VPX, or even various VDAs in their respective subnets. So the SD-WAN was the gateway for all devices in the Lambo. The device itself had, as you saw, multiple onboard NIC interfaces, as well as Wi-Fi capability. And a candidate for all the server devices we were looking for was something that was small form factor, low power consumption, yet power enough to handle the requirements that we threw at it. And as you saw in the demonstration with the Lambo, there was a generator placed in front of the small front trunk compartment, which was just allowing the generator to fit narrowly enough, yet it provides enough runtime to energize all the components throughout this solution. So ideally, wireless connections were the way to go, just to make things look cleaner. And we had the power-heavy devices in the front of the car, and this being in an enclosed space, heat was always a consideration. So going with that information, we wanted something with a low TDP processor that worked well. And on the OS side, we wanted something that's bare bones, just the absolute bare minimum with the necessary services just to get this up and running. So now we can give you context to how all this can work on the Lambo side. In this ecosystem, we wanted a small form factor or mini PC, which we ended up going with the Intel NUC, which had ESXi 7 loaded up on that. And it played an important role in making this work correctly. On it, there were a couple of Windows servers that we provisioned, say, for example, a local Active Directory Citrix Cloud connector and a server VDA. So all of that's in the trunk. And I'm moving over to the interior. We have a 13-inch LED panel, which is going to be sitting on the passenger dashboard, and that's connected to an Igel endpoint. And what's great about this Igel endpoint, it's very power efficient, being Linux-based, and it has an ARM processor as well. So right out of the box, the operating system, the Igel OS, it's optimized for Citrix environments, and setting up connectivity is quite simple with their Universal Management Suite, or UMS. So with UMS, there's various policies you can configure, such as sessions that can be set up with simple just one quick access to various Citrix services that we set up. Various items can be customizable by UMS remotely or on the endpoint itself. And those items are, various from user interface to system settings to Citrix settings, which what I have on the left here. So if you look on the side panel on the left, there are various settings available for Citrix from, say, global configurations to storefront to gateway. And these settings can be made to be pushed to multiple endpoints, allowing connection to the Citrix resources back in the environment they provisioned. Say, so for the Citrix storefront session to be created, all the connection information has to be input into their, input fields. What I have on the screen here is you can see, depending on how many monitors you have, you can either load it up on one monitor, you can have it in appliance mode, you can pretty much set it up to load either automatically or there's quite a lot of settings that you can go through. And this remote management capability of UMS, it's all capable through an Igel cloud connectors that the endpoints are configured to access. So in an effort to reduce cables, Wi-Fi was activated on the Igel endpoint. The keyboard, the mouse, they're wireless. Same goes for the brother printer and scanner. And both of the printer and the scanner, they're portable, so they're great on the go, and they can even fit inside the door panel compartment. So both of these devices, they're currently wireless clients and access directly. As you saw, the camera we have is the 4K Logitech Brio, which itself is installed on the dashboard while being connected to the Igel endpoint and will subsequently being redirected to the VDA. So for management, we have the UMS for the Igel client. We had the Citrix Sd-Wan being monitored by the hosted appliance. We had a vCenter for the SXI host. And finally, we have Control Up, which we're using to monitoring the Windows processes, various other functionalities such as hypervisor, VDA monitoring. So all of that gives any alerts if there's any issues. And what we have set up next is we're going to have Process Fusion's UniPrint, and that's going to be for secure cloud printing. And with that, I'll pass it over to Ruben to speak on the Citrix Cloud.
Thanks, Michael. Hi, everyone. My name is Ruben Huckel, Senior Technical Consultant here at Ferroque Systems. I'll be speaking today about one of the core technologies, part of our Lamborghini mobile office, Citrix Cloud. We'll begin with a brief overview of Citrix Cloud, followed by a walkthrough of the Citrix Cloud services we have configured for our Lamborghini. So what is Citrix Cloud? Citrix Cloud services simplify the delivery and management of Citrix technologies, helping you extend existing on-premise software deployments or move 100% to the cloud. Citrix Cloud is an evergreen managed control plane from Citrix that provides Citrix management technologies for delivery as a service. It's a full-featured platform for interfacing with and delivering virtual apps and desktops, securing SaaS apps, internet, WAN optimization, endpoint management, and streamlining workflows with micro apps, as well as performance and security analytics. Citrix Cloud enables customers to reduce management overhead with timely updates and upgrades. This means Citrix is responsible for the availability of your Citrix management infrastructure in their control plane, ensuring that it's up to the latest state version and patches, allowing customers to receive the newest features as they release. Citrix customers and partners are responsible for what's known as a resource location, which is where your apps, network, and data resides and can exist in a public, private, or hybrid cloud deployment scenario. Each resource location is securely connected to the control plane using the Citrix Cloud connector, which initiates an outbound HTTPS connection to the Citrix Cloud plane, so you're in complete control of all your apps, network, and data within your resource location at all times. Citrix Cloud includes the following standalone services: Citrix Analytics for security, a service that provides security assurance through continuous user risk assessment. Citrix Analytics, which provides visibility into user interactions with select components of the Citrix Workspace. Citrix Analytics for performance, which enables organizations to quantify experience and uncover the health of your environment using machine learning. Citrix Content Collaboration simplifies this collaboration with secure access to files and data from any device across any infrastructure. Citrix Endpoint Management, which provides cloud-based comprehensive unified endpoint management on BYOD or corporate devices. And Citrix Gateway, which provides single sign-on with multi-factor authentication for SaaS apps, web apps, and virtual apps and desktops. Citrix Secure Browser, which protects the corporate network from browser-based attacks by isolating internet browsing to a public cloud infrastructure. Citrix Secure Workspace Access, a non-VPN or VPN-less solution that delivers zero trust access to corporate web and SaaS applications, access from managed and BYOD devices. And the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Service, which enables organizations to securely deliver and manage virtual apps and desktops centrally across multiple resource locations. Moving to the two core Citrix Cloud services we have configured for a Lamborghini, we'll begin with the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Service. So the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop Service, which I'll now refer to as Vdas, provides virtualization solutions that give IT control of virtual machines, applications, and security while providing anywhere access for any device. End users can use applications and desktops independently of the device's operating system and interface. So using the CVAD service, you can deliver secure virtual apps and desktops to any device, leaving most of the installation, setup, and upgrades to Citrix. This allows you to manage on-premise data center and public cloud workloads together in a hybrid deployment. So with the CVAD-S, you can connect public clouds such as Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, and Google Cloud, plus on-premise hypervisors such as Citrix Hypervisor, Microsoft Hyper-V, and VMware vSphere. The hybrid multi-cloud approach gives you the flexibility to deploy different applications in different resource locations worldwide. So Citrix manages the user access and management services and components in Citrix Cloud. So this includes your delivery controllers, Citrix Director, SQL databases, as well as Studio. The applications and desktops that you deliver reside on machines in one or more resource locations. In a CVAD-S deployment, a resource location contains component from the access layer and resource layers. Each resource location is considered a zone. If you're considering migrating from an on-premise virtual apps and desktops deployment, you'll see that the service eliminates most of the component setup work required from an on-premise deployment, and it's simpler to manage as the Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktop service provides a single management console as well as control plane. Jumping over to the second component of this Citrix Cloud that we are leveraging, which is the Workspace/Gateway service. So Citrix Workspace is a complete digital workspace solution that delivers secure access to the information, apps, and other content that's relevant to a person's role in your organization. Users subscribe to the services that you make available and can access them from anywhere on any device. With the cloud-based Citrix Gateway service, organizations can provide everything people need in one place while enhancing security through SSO as well as multi-factor authentication. Citrix Gateway service provides secure remote access to all your apps through Citrix Workspace, whether they're SaaS or on-premise web apps. The Citrix Gateway service supports SAML 2.0 for SaaS applications, as well as any traditional mechanism like form-based, Kerberos, and basic authentication for web apps. Citrix Gateway service is also an HDX proxy cloud service, which provides remote access through virtual apps and desktops delivered through the CVAD-S service. As a cloud service, it provides the benefit of being simpler to install and configure than a traditional on-premise Citrix Gateway hosted on Citrix ADC. Organizations leveraging the Citrix Gateway service will benefit from simplified management of the Citrix Gateway service with a one-click configuration, high scalability with the ability to add new users seamlessly, fast time to value with no changes required in the DMZ, and as well as tight integration with Citrix Virtual Apps and Desktops. Jumping to a brief overview of our Citrix Cloud environment we have configured for the Lamborghini. We have a single resource location deployed right in the car itself. As Michael Wheelock mentioned, we are currently leveraging an Intel NUC and the VMware vSphere hypervisor platform where we have a full Active Directory environment, along with Citrix Cloud connectors and a hosted shared desktop for delivery that can be accessed anywhere in the world, leveraging our gateway service. This concludes our Citrix Cloud overview for the Lamborghini mobile office. I will now pass it on over to Michael Schuster, who will discuss security in the modern mobile workspace.
There you go. Someone decided to mute me. Thank you, Ruben, for that information. Greatly appreciated, and a lot of good detail there. So what I'm going to go through now is not a comprehensive list, but some of the most straightforward elements of securing a mobile workforce in today's climate here. So again, this is not comprehensive, but there's a number of key things that we feel that organizations should be hitting on and addressing as they're looking to further modernize and roll out and further secure and harden their remote workforce strategies. So number one, and I'm sure this will get a lot of flack still, but I really don't care at this point, eliminate any and all client VPN access to your corporate network. VPNs are great from a site-to-site perspective. They're very useful, but from the vantage point of client security, it just doesn't cut anymore. They're legacy. You're essentially extending the corporate network into people's homes, which you do not control. They do leave session traces on devices. They provide a broader attack surface versus something that is just presenting data to an end user on their computer, such as what Citrix or similar technologies do. And there is no protection with VPNs against keyloggers or screen grabs or anything of that nature, nor is there really good means in most implementations of VPN to control client device redirection to help minimize data loss protection and malicious software making its way into the network. So beyond that, Citrix is also going to be faster than most VPNs for most data flows as well, providing a better user experience. Next up is locking down and restricting access on Citrix VDAs. So this might be a little bit counterintuitive to some, but we have to be mindful that Citrix VDAs are hosting user sessions, and user sessions are what essentially should be treated. It is not unlike users logging into a physical workstation or a laptop. Generally, those types of devices where users have direct access are going to be segregated on the network away from other trusted services. So it's not uncommon for workstations and Wi-Fi to have their own security zone and their own dedicated subnets protected with a firewall to prevent how quickly people can move throughout the network, let alone at all. So from outside of that that untrusted bubble in their subnet for those workstations. So the VDAs are the same story. Within their VDAs are definitely going to be hosted in a data center in most cases, unless you're us and are hosting it in Lamborghini. But with this in mind, it's very important to make sure that because users are accessing these systems directly, they should be in their own security zone, and we're only opening up firewall rules to services within the network that they truly need to access to better improve our security posture. The idea here is to help minimize if someone did compromise a VDA within the environment, that they won't be as easily able to move throughout your network and your trusted security zones, if you will, by having the Citrix VDAs in their own designated security zone. Next would be locking down and restricting access to the VDAs from the sense of ensuring that we can't jailbreak out of our Citrix session. So we aren't able to access PowerShell, command prompt, registry editing tools, and what have you by strategic use of GPO policies or policies from other providers like Workspace Environment Management or Avanti or what have you. And in addition to this, we want to make sure that we're using tools to lock down the applications in our environment, so we're avoiding users from jailbreaking out and getting greater levels of rights in the environment that they otherwise should have. So leveraging BitLocker, for example, from Microsoft is a bit of an underrated feature, is definitely encouraged here to help secure what users are accessing on the platform, in addition to ACLs and things of that nature, to help us further lock down and secure that endpoint environment to prevent users from moving laterally around. Next up is Ingress and Egress data controls. So Citrix out of the box is going to have the client redirection capabilities to access your printers, your microphone, your client drives, and what have you, open by default. So that's great from an end user experience, but for environments where we're dealing with mobile workforces, it's not ideal. So what I mean by that is, as a default behavior, we don't want users from any device being able to connect in and have their local client drive or the USB drives being redirected into the Citrix session, or perhaps their clipboard be able to read and write to and from the Citrix session, or even able to print. There's always going to be workflows within organizations that do require these things, that these should be treated on an exception basis. The idea here is to provide the least amount of privilege in our policies and only grant access to clipboard and client printing and client drive redirection on a case-by-case basis, usually by a separate Citrix HDX policy tied to a specific AD group or two that provide access to those capabilities, where the default baseline behavior is to not allow those. And what that allows us to do is to prevent instances of data loss or data exfiltration, as well as any potential ability for someone to move malicious data or executables into the environment. Even a clipboard, a read-only clipboard from the local endpoint into the Citrix session could allow users to create with right permissions to actually recompile a virus within the session. So certain security organizations that, let's say, the government has to adhere to in terms of guidelines can't allow client clipboard redirection, even if it's read-only. Zero trust and contextual access is next on the list. So zero trust is a buzzword concept. It's been around since about 2010, but it's only really picked up traction in the last few years. But the general idea is to operate on a belief that we should not automatically trust any devices inside or outside the network, and anything that wants to access our network should be proving to us that they're trustworthy, and ideally be continually proving that we can trust them. So there's a lot of great ways of doing this, whether we're doing it directly in Citrix or we're using an MFA provider like Azure AD or Azure MFA, Okta, Ping ID, Duo. A lot of these solutions have contextual access capabilities that can help block users or provide a different outcome for them based on various factors, the types of access behaviors they're employing at the given time, what device they're connecting from, what geography they're coming in from, what time even they're coming in from, and start applying policies based on that. And in addition to that, going back to that point I was making about ingress and egress data controls, if we want to allow client redirection for user use cases that require it, but need to make sure that that user is on a trusted device before we open up client printing and client drive redirection, we can do that using contextual access policies on the ADC. If we use Citrix Gateway in the mix, and that can be used with CVDAs or just on-premise CVAD, if you will, we can use the Citrix Gateway capabilities, that's the customer-managed Citrix Gateway, using endpoint analysis scans, and use things like smart access or smart control capabilities to say, great, if a user meets the certain criteria in terms of maybe it's we validated that they are a corporate device, or that they're running specific security software and antivirus tools, they're not using Wi-Fi, things of that nature, then we can provide them that capability for client drive redirection or whatnot, or whatever the case may be, based on the fact that we've done an assessment, a posture check of their device, and grant rights appropriately. And this goes, zero trust and contextual access is going to go hand in hand with ensuring that we're using a multi-factor solution as well for access into the environment. We're actually seeing more customers deploy MFA even inside the corporate network as well, just something to consider. Next up is reviewing analytics often. So one of the nice key differentiators that Citrix has and has been focusing a lot on the last few years has been their analytics capabilities. They've been building a lot of interesting stuff in Citrix Cloud, in particular for analytics regarding with regards to performance analytics and being able to continually give scores based on a bunch of different data sources, whether it's on-prem or customer managed Citrix or a Citrix Cloud control plane environment, but performance analytics to help understand the overall end user experience and what could be contributing to degraded user experience. But beyond that, most important for this conversation is the security analytics. So the security analytics capabilities that Citrix has, not unlike some of the other ones we were talking with Zero Trust and MFA, and contextual access, give us the ability to create policies. So what does this mean? Well, it means that based on the data sources that Citrix is tracking, if we're seeing anomalous behavior for a user that is atypical, or they're starting to transmit through client drive redirection a bunch of data that otherwise shouldn't be, then Citrix Cloud can say, all right, you're giving me hot dog water vibes, I'm going to turn on session recording, or I'm going to lock out your account, or I'm going to disconnect your session, or what have you, based on a number of different pre-built policy options that Citrix has available, and we can take action against this. And this is part of that whole zero trust system where we have a level of trust that's established, yet we let someone in, but we start seeing strange behaviors occurring. We can start taking actions based on policies for those changes. Next thing I want to quickly touch on is blocking domain and enterprise admins from logging into Citrix VDAs. We, in the last month and a half, have now dealt with about 3 different customers who were unfortunately the subject of ransomware attacks. And in 2 of those cases, at least, the user got in, the bad actor got in rather, because of something that was introduced on the Citrix VDAs that a user unknowingly had brought in. But worse was because domain admins had logged into those VDAs as well, the bad actor was able to use a classic pass the hash approach and elevate the rights within the environment and start moving around the network laterally, wreaking havoc on everything. So the idea here is to use a GPO or something of that nature to block domain admins or enterprise admins, well, technically both, from logging into these VDAs. They should never, someone with that level of rights should not log into the VDAs at all. And the alternative to that, if there is a need for that, would be use something like Authlight, which is a product that gets installed in your environment. And if you do need to elevate to a privileged account, you have to provide a one-time passcode using a YubiKey or a soft token app to elevate your rights in the environment, which can also help mitigate pass the hash considerations. But the quick and easy thing to do initially is really just block domain and enterprise admins from being able to log into VDAs at all. Last but not least is a locked down endpoint device. So we're coming across this quite a bit the last 1.5 years over the course of the pandemic, where customers are looking at various options for endpoints that they can give out to end users. And it varies based on a customer's budget and how involved their security organization is in this developing solution. So there's a bunch of different options from there: status quo using corporate laptops that already exist today, to rolling out thin clients and customers having their users taking thin clients home with them. And those could be Windows-based thin clients or not. There's kiosk mode devices, there's Chromebooks, you name it. But what's of particular importance is, especially for higher security environments, is a solution that is not dependent on the operation of the underlying hardware, and that we've got a greater level of trust in terms of our ability to manage it and secure it, and understanding with good confidence that it's unlikely to be modified maliciously. So an example of this would be Igel's pocket drive devices. So Igel has their own hardware for their thin clients. Igel also partners with other vendors to put their software on those thin clients, such as the device that we're using from End Computing here in our Lamborghini project. But they also have a pocket drive devices, and these are a Igel OS that is coded into a small USB drive that you can plug into almost any device, and like a laptop or what have you, and boot off that, and you're automatically in a secure environment, and an environment that you can continually to use and rely upon for connecting to the environment. User is 1,000 miles away from the office, and they've had Windows 10 crash on them. They need to get to work. No problem, boot off that drive. You don't care what's going on with the underlying operating system when you're going to boot off an Igel operating system on that device. You're not worried about that type of thing anymore, or the downtime associated with having to send that user another laptop or getting it to otherwise replaced somehow, and the lost business and the impact that could result from the downtime that user experienced just by having a device like that in play, and the ability to centrally manage that. All right, I'll get off my soapbox now. Thank you for letting me see my piece. I'm going to hand it back to Amber.
Awesome, that was great, guys. Thank you so much for going into so much detail on the Lamborghini project. We have a couple of questions. What SD-WAN features or other third-party solutions features did you utilize most to help secure the site-to-site connectivity, in this case between the data center and the Lambo branch office?
So it was basically the appliance-based firewall that we used, and at the data center, our next-gen firewall, Fortinet. that we sort of use to ensure site to site connectivity?
Yeah, we did a defense in depth actually. Just having multiple layers just to make sure any traffic that we don't necessarily expect, it would just be blocked. There really isn't that much on the back end that varies. So we have a fine set of rules, whatever's able to have like the functionality that we need, anything else is just blocked.
As well, please follow us on social media. We have lots of fun stuff on Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. So be sure to watch us and follow us there if you haven't already done so. And the last but not least is that our Lamborghini website has been posted. So the URL is ferroquelambo.com. We talk about kind of the project and some of the information we went over today. And on the bottom of the page, there's an invitation for you to join our newsletter and see where we're going to be going. The hope, COVID pending, is to allow us to actually drive across the country and meet many of you and say hi. Lots and lots of accolades. Thank you guys. You did a great job with the information, very thorough. You went through a lot of great details about the project. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining us.
We hope to see you on the road.
We'll see you on the road. See you guys.
See you on the road. Bye.